changing the game in applied sports science in Australia and the world for years. The man who was the most passionate coach in the game. The man who was not scared to ask the hard questions to make the industry better. Welcome to his show. Welcome to Ask Woodford. And here's your host as always, Christian Woodford.
G'day guys, welcome to Ask Woodford, episode 53. Now, I have a very, very special guest. He's all the way from Boston. I'm right when I say Boston, Coach? Boston?
Boston, yes. That's the nearest big city anyway.
Boston, USA. He's a pioneer in strength and conditioning, one of my idols, one of my guys who pretty much I've bought every resource he's ever produced. He's the man, Coach Michael Boyle. Welcome to the Ask Woodford show, and thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Beautiful.
I love these. I told you that. I love these.
Now, before I begin, if someone doesn't know you out in Australia, give them a bit of a background, a bit of understanding who you are, what you do, just so they understand.
All right, so I started out as a strength and conditioning coach. Actually, I started out as an athletic trainer. I don't know what the terminology is in Australia, but basically I started out sort of in the injury management side of it back in the very early 1980s. Quickly switched and realized I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach when there really was no such thing. I didn't know anyone who got paid to be a strength and conditioning coach, but I did know there were a few guys in the U.S. that were actually getting paid to do strength and conditioning, and that was all about 38 years ago. And so over the last 38 years, I spent time, I've worked with our women's Olympic soccer team, our women's Olympic ice hockey team. I've worked with the Boston Bruins for 10 seasons, spent 2 years with the Boston Red Sox. And because a lot of this stuff was kind of part-time, at the same time, I spent about 30 years at Boston University, the first maybe 15 as the head strength and conditioning coach. So there was a time when I was head strength and conditioning coach at Boston University and also theoretically the only strength and conditioning coach for the Boston Bruins in the National Hockey League. So I was working routinely kind of 10 and 12-hour days and going between the old Boston Garden and the Boston University facilities and working 7 days a week and not getting a lot of sleep, but living the dream, having so much fun. And then since in 97, I opened up what was probably the first for-profit strength and conditioning business, something obviously like what you have right now.
Yeah.
We did that about 22 years ago, and we've had that business basically up and running for 22 years, and we've built it into a fairly substantial business. So I've had lots of things. Then, like you said, I've written 4 books. I've probably made, I don't even know, maybe 30 video products starting out at VHS. We kind of joked about VHS, but I started out making VHS. Cassette tape and then progressed to DVDs. Now most of the stuff is downloadable, but so I've been doing that for probably 20 or so years, and I'm also a husband. I'm a dad. I've got I always say I got skin in the game. I got kids that play sports. I got a daughter that's a full scholarship ice hockey player in the United States, and I'm going to brag right now, currently 9th in the nation in goals per game.
Shit.
I've got a son who's a pretty good lacrosse player and a pretty good ice hockey player who's still only 14. I coach him and his friends. So I really am running the virtual gamut of everything that you could be doing in the U.S. I'm doing it, probably your head.
Just quickly, what for everyone out there, what's your favourite sport? Ice hockey. Is that your favourite sport?
My favorite sport to watch?
Okay, to watch and to coach.
Okay, so if you're talking about coaching players, ice hockey, hands down.
Okay.
Best athletes ever. Like, just so much fun to work with. Such like great people, hard work, and they're the type of people who routinely, get their teeth knocked out and go back to playing the game. They get cuts. I had a guy one year literally get his ear torn half off, and just immediately went in, got his ear stitched back on, came right back out and played again. So they're just awesome. The men, the women, I think the women are my favorite. The women hockey players, and then, but I really enjoy watching my son play lacrosse right now. Lacrosse is a really fun, like fast-moving, a lot of scoring. Very skillful game, yet some physicality to it. So that's probably my favorite on the watching stage right now.
Talking about your business, I've followed you for a long, long time. I mean, I followed you. Did you start your business before the internet?
I believe so. Yes, I think I I might have started, yes, because I remember, not really before. I remember a guy in my office right before I started my business showing me the internet.
Yeah.
And explaining it to me, a chemistry professor at Boston University, telling me that you should get your stuff up on the internet. This is going to be big. Now, imagine you look at it back at it now and think, oh, yeah, he was right. I guess this ended up being a big deal. But yes, so it was funny. I had someone ask me on one of these podcasts, what was the biggest technological breakthrough that you remember in your career? And I literally said, the personal computer. And they looked at me like, what? And I was like, the personal computer. I said, I used to write things down. I used to have a piece of paper and a pen. We did testing and we wrote everything down. And our testing was sheets in a folder that had, your name, Christian Woodford. Okay, what do you do? I'll pull out your sheet and look at it. That's what he did. There was no filing system, no computers. So I go back.
One thing, Coach, I like about you is you're not afraid to say you're a results-driven coach. You're athlete-centered, results-driven. Whatever works for that athlete, you're going to use. You don't really, you're a bit like me in terms of if it works, you're going to use it. You don't really care what anyone else thinks. Talk about your methodology behind training athletes and also a little bit about the reasons why you don't back squat your athletes and you'd rather rear foot elevated or split squat your athletes.
All right, so we'll go back. We'll start kind of at the beginning. When you talk about philosophy, I've always said, the number one thing you don't want to do as an athlete is get hurt training.
Yep.
I mean, that's absolutely positively number one. So when we look at that, I think anytime someone gets hurt in the training process, that is just a disaster to me.
Yep.
And so, and then we said, and obviously we don't want someone to get hurt playing.
Yep.
Right? We'd like all of our athletes to be injury-free, but we don't want to injure them while we're training them. Then we don't want them to get injured while they're playing their sport. And then third, we want to improve their performance at their sport. But I try to get people to understand, improving their performance at their sport is third, not first. So when, we always talk about risk-benefit ratio, and in my presentation I've got a picture of a scale that has to be in balance.
Yeah.
So we're always going to look at risk and benefit and say, okay, what's the risk of this particular exercise versus what's the benefit? And when you go back to squatting, one of the things we started to realize, and I'm a former competitive powerlifter myself, and I have 25 years of back pain, to maybe more now, maybe God, I'm 60, so I probably got going on 40 years of back pain.
Just answer one question, Coach. Is it just lower back pain? Is it lumbar where you get the issues?
Yeah, it's lumbar where I get the issues, and I'm much better. I'm actually better now than I've been in 10 years.
Because they flare. It's that how they push into that big chest. How they used to always say, big chest, big chest.
But also, big chest, it's just not good for you.
Yeah.
The back, this is the thing. As you study the science of what we do,
yeah.
You understand, one, that we made Philip Beach, who's an Australian, I don't know if you know, New Zealand, actually, osteopath. I don't know if you've ever heard the name.
Yeah.
But he talks about the idea that when we decided to walk upright, we made a deal with the devil.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to get on 2 feet.
Yeah.
But the compromise was that we were going to have back pain.
Yep.
Because we weren't really made to be upright.
Mm-hmm.
Then you think, were we made to be upright and then put as much load as possible on the column as we could? No. And if we look at that column and we think, what irritates that column? We know compressive load irritates the column.
Axial loading. Right?
Yeah, axial loading, not good. We know that torque irritates that, right? And we know that shearing forces, that sort of forward lean that you might get in a bad squat, all those things are not good for your back.
Yep.
And all of those things are contained in the back squat. Like the back squat is the perfect storm for giving somebody a back injury in my mind. If you said, if I want someone to develop a bad back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to force everybody to back squat. Now, the problem is that the anti-back squat people will argue vigorously with me. All this stuff, if you can't coach it, if you do it right. The problem is, and I always look, they've never coached 7-foot athletes. You know what I mean? They've never coached. Some of the greatest athletes in the world are tall and have really long levers and have literal displacements that don't make themselves. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture that I post, but I have a great picture of two of my athletes who are the same height sitting down.
Yep.
I have them sitting next to each other on identical 12-inch boxes.
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen it.
Yeah. When they stand up, one is a foot taller than the other. One has a foot more tibia and femur than the other one does.
Jeez.
She's always going to be at risk of squatting. And the thing that we always did is it's like, everybody says, well, you can't have absolutes. And I'm like, you have to have absolutes. You have to have things. Either you believe in it or you don't. Either you believe in back squatting or you don't believe in back squatting. Because the thing that I know, and I always talk about this, I don't know, you can correct me when I say things that are uniquely American, but monkey see, monkey do.
No, that's all right. Yeah.
In the monkey see, monkey do world, people see somebody lift more weight than them. They want to do that lift. So the lift, at least in my experience at that time, where people were lifting the highest amount of weight, was the back squat. So if I said to you, well, Christian, you can't back squat. I'm not going to let you back squat because of your dimensions. But you're going to look at Mike over there, and look at Mike with 500 pounds. He's got 5 plates on each side, and everybody's so impressed by how strong he is. And he's getting all this attention in the gym, but you're not going to do that because you're a little more at risk. Yeah. That creates all kinds of problems in your facility. So for me, it was like, we're going to select exercises that we believe are going to be good for the majority. Maybe it's 80-20. Most people are going to be fine with this exercise. And then we're going to work from there. And so as a result, we end up in a situation where we just said we're not going to back squat. That's it. Can you help? I'm sorry, I need to pause for 1 second. Excuse me.
Yeah, go.
This is upstairs all over the place. Oh, okay, all right, sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize.
Hello, Mrs. Boyle.
Hi, Kristen says hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
That's okay. How about that? You edit that part out.
He needs some money.
So, so when you start looking at that, and then you get into like, we could just keep going. Then it's like, for me, I almost feel like I'm always like I'm a lawyer. This is a court case. Yeah. And then I'm like, wait a second. Then we start looking and thinking, does it really make sense to be on 2 legs? How many sport skills are there that are performed on 2 legs? 0. And you basically go 1, rowing. I always do this one.
Oh, yeah, rowing. Yeah.
Or, so you've got 1. So you've got 1 group of people that you could look at and say, okay, these people might, from a specificity standpoint, benefit from back squatting. Yeah. But again, if we're thinking about what's good for everybody, we've got 1 sport that maybe needs it and a whole bunch that don't. Yeah. Now, and I'll go back. The anti-squat people are going to say, wait a second. Basketball players jump off 2 legs. Volleyball players jump off 2 legs. And like, sorry, that's double leg power. We're still doing Olympic lift. So I'm not saying that we should never do anything on 2 legs. I'm saying that we shouldn't do heavy barbell back squats, which is clearly different than we shouldn't do anything on 2 legs, right? Then into the whole bilateral deficit idea, which is where you really lose a lot of the non-thinkers. Because you've got the typical meathead. They don't even, if they even know what bilateral deficit is, some of them will say, I've had this argument with somebody. He said, well, I saw a study that said if you do enough bilateral exercise, you eliminate the bilateral deficit. And I said, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
Stupid. Yeah, it's stupid.
You're training to eliminate an advantage.
Correct.
And you're saying that if I do enough of the wrong stuff, eventually I will get better at the wrong thing than I am at the right thing. And I give people the example when we think about bilateral deficit. I said, theoretically, if you listen to the squat people, everybody who can dunk a basketball would walk up to the basket and jump off 2 legs and dunk the basketball. Yet when you watch the dunk contest in the NBA, nobody does that, right? Everybody runs up and jumps off 1 leg.
1 leg.
Everybody.
Yeah, 1 leg.
But if you listen to the double leg people, the squat people, well, you should theoretically be able to jump twice as high if you're on 2 legs as you can on 1.
Yeah, correct.
But you can't, and it's not even close. And then they'll say, but that's because of elasticity, that's because of stretch shortening cycle. I'm like, okay, whatever, however you want to fight it, people will preferentially jump off 1 leg when they want to jump as high as they can. That should tell you something. And then if you look into more like bilateral deficit research, it's the same with hand grip dynamometry. It's the same with leg extension. Everything they've ever studied, we're neurologically more efficient when we do each segment individually. Correct. But again, people, and sorry, I'm railing on about this, but people are so vested in the back squat that they will think of every conceivable reason rather than just looking and saying what I said. I looked and said, you know something? You're right. Single leg training makes more sense. Like, I just accepted it. The bilateral people, the Olympic lifters, the power lifters, they just keep fighting the good fight. Like, nope, you got to do this. It's better for you. And I'm like, then what? Now they make up stuff. It's bad for your back. Because Stuart McGill made the mistake of saying that he was seeing a lot of SI joint problems with people who did split squats.
I heard that. Yeah.
And the difference is, Stu and I have an article that he and I did together.
Yeah.
Where we discussed this. And one of the things that he said was that the people who tended to have SI joint problems tended to do rear foot elevated split squats in a relatively elongated stance.
They're too wide. That'd be too wide.
Right. And they're too long.
Yeah.
So they're really pulling back with that back leg. And who does Stuart McGill see? People with back pain, right?
Back pain, I was going to say, yeah.
People saying, there's all these people with back pain from split squats. And I'm like, but you're talking to someone who only sees people with back pain. So I went and reversed it. I talked to everybody I knew who's abandoned the back squat.
Yeah.
None of us have seen back. Everybody that I talked to who's embraced this thought process, every single person right down the line, all the way to the great, your man Joe DeFranco, he used to think I was a pussy, have said clearly less back pain, no question about it. So how is that? You ask me a 1-minute question, I give you a 20-minute answer.
Oh, no, I love that. I love the tangents. I love it. Quickly, though, you do front squat your athletes, yes or no?
We are just playing with it again. We did front squat for a long time.
Yep.
We stopped for a long time.
Yep.
We are now experimenting with it, actually primarily with my son and his friends who are like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Because one of the things we're finding is that we've been goblet squatting them.
Yep.
And they're struggling right now to get the weight in position. So these are 14-year-old kids, 120 to 150 pounds,
Yep.
Goblet squatting in the neighborhood of 100. The hardest part is holding the dumbbell.
Yep.
So because we do believe in the hang clean, we are playing around with front squat again. But I think what we'll probably only do is front squat to what they can hang clean and then be good with it. And not really look at it as a strength exercise as much as look at it as sort of a complementary exercise for the hang clean.
Okay.
So how's that for walking the fence a little?
Now, Olympic lifting, I've obviously read your books. I love the variations you use. So I'm going to reel off two of them that I use with all my athletes. I love them. Single arm snatches, so in terms of unilateral, especially when you're up top being strong. Also, clean grip snatches, I love.
Yeah.
Well, how did you think of...
that's basically what we do. We hang clean, which technically, if you get into the arguments with the Olympic purists, we hang power clean, hang above the knees.
Yeah.
We hang snatch, close grip only. We never snatch, grip snatch, hang above the knees.
For everyone out there, coach, you clean grip, even though it's greater range of motion, less stress to the shoulder joint, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, again, people argue and say it's more stress to the shoulder, which to me is... I have no idea how less external rotation.
Abduction, external rotation. Because I had a fight with a guy who said this to me. I clean grip snatch my guys all the time, like you do, right? From the hang. And some dude said to me, some Olympic lifter said, that's more stress on the glenohumeral joint than a wide grip snatch, a normal snatch. I said, how? Because they've got a bias. That's their bias. And they can't see anything at the tunnel vision.
Right. And I look at those people and I think, okay, we know what the shoulder does not like abduction and external rotation. We know that. Right? Snatch, grip, snatch is abduction, external rotation. And if you think about rotating that, I think it's greater tuberosity up into the cuff, right? Yeah. You're doing that when you get into that position. When you come to here, you're in a much more shoulder-friendly position, regardless. And sometimes I look at these people and I think, you don't understand anatomy. If you're going to argue with me, at least understand anatomy better. Because I don't see how they can even try to make that case. And again, the reason I always say to people, the reason I do things is because I tried them the wrong way the first time. We tried wide grip snatches years ago, 25 years ago. I wanted to get into snatches. I would say I had everybody snatch, all our football players, 100 guys snatching. Within 2 weeks, I had 25 guys complaining of shoulder pain. So I abandoned snatching. I said, okay, our guys aren't doing well with that snatch grip position. When I returned to close grip snatch, you know how many I had complaining of shoulder pain?
Zero.
None. Not a one. And I look at the Olympic lifter and say, well, why don't you snatch grip jerk then? If that's less shoulder stress, why aren't we doing more snatch grip jerks? It's less range of motion.
Yep.
Theoretically, you should be able to get more weight over your head because you don't have to go as far. And they would look at you and say, that's so stupid. How can you even say that? You can't possibly support the amount of weight in the snatch grip that you can support in the jerk. And I'm like, well, you just told me the snatch position is a superior position for the shoulder. why can't you support the weight?
Mm.
You know, if you're in a better position, you should be able to hold a higher load. You know what I mean? So these, like, but what you realize is they're arguing with you because, and I think I said this last time that we talked, I love the 3 stages of an idea.
Yeah.
You know, disagreement, ridicule, and then, or actually violent opposition is the final stage. And we're in the violent opposition stage because we're winning.
Mm.
Guys like me are winning the battle.
Mm.
The idea of functional training and whatever, sports different, whatever you want to call the bullshit that I do, which I think is totally stupid, but the idea of intelligent training is, and because we're winning, and because there's less what I would call stupid meathead training, where you try to imitate a power lifter or try to imitate an Olympic lifter, it takes away from the value of those people within the marketplace. So they're going, if you're a powerlifting guy or an Olympic lifting guy, you are going to fight tooth and nail against somebody like me or you. Because we're saying that you used to be the gold standard, right? If you were the Olympic lifting guy, the powerlifting guy, you were the guy we went to and said, how do we get strong? How do we get more powerful? It's like we moved beyond that now. And guys don't have the same level of usefulness that they might have had when I was in my 20s or 30s. And as a result, violent opposition.
I just can't get over how aggressive people were towards you. I remember a lot of people were so aggressive. I read your article on the reason you gave justification. You gave real world reasoning behind why you don't back squat your guys. And all these powerlifters, all these string sport athletes got so aggressive. And they kind of made it personal against you. How did you find, at that time, when it did come out, how did you deal with it? Did you kind of find it funny, or was it like, for you personally, how did you find it?
Is when Pat Beath, the guy who did the marketing for that version of Functional Strength Coach, I think it was 3, he came up with the death of squatting clip. Like, I never said death of squatting. He just pulled that clip out of, the thing, and he said, hey, this is the controversial hook. This is going to get people to buy this DVD.
This is your business partner, coach, isn't it? This is your business partner?
What? Business partner, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And so he does all the marketing for all of my, audio, visual projects and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Really great guy. But he pulled that out and said, this is what's going to make people want to see this product. And he called it Death of Squatting, and he put it up on the internet. And that was what started it. But to me, I laughed because the thing is, too, what do they say? Never argue with an idiot because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience.
Yeah.
And it's true because I started to look, one guy, and I still remember, went on and about Mike Boyle doesn't even want anybody to take a shit. He's such an idiot. No one's ever going to squat again. And I went on to his and actually responded to his YouTube comment and said, you didn't watch the clip. You just went on and commented. And I think this is what I find now, because you saw it the other day with my Olympic lifting one. There's always something that I say. Somebody like the guy, that girl's clean technique is awful.
She's 13 years old.
And she's good. I look at her and think she's a damn good Olympic lifter. She's exactly. If I looked at it, I said, that's what I want it to look like. You can say that I'm wrong. You can say that I'm right. I don't really care. But she's got pop. The bar stays close. It moves fast. She catches in the right position. Yeah. Like, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
But see the hip movement. And I actually have to film some video. I'm going to film some video of people jumping. Counter movement jumps.
Yeah.
Everybody who counter movement jumps, literally by its name, it's a rocking action. Everybody drives their hips back, and that's why I put up the Carl Miller thing. Because again, I look at people. I have that like little spiral bound book that no one's ever even read, right? And he talks all about double knee bend. There's a whole chapter on double knee bend, extension, flexion, extension. It's the essence of Olympic lifting.
Yeah.
And the people argue with me. I'm like, you don't even understand freaking Olympic lifting. Don't argue with me. Like, go read about double knee bend. Go look at this stuff. Now, you may disagree. I mean, it's one of those guys that say, well, we don't scoop. We don't double knee bend. We don't teach it. Okay. If you know what it is, and you're going to say to me that you don't teach it, I at least can respect the fact that you're part of the discussion. But you can't say that those who teach it are teaching it wrong. You can only say there's more than one style of teaching of Olympic weightlifting. I'm writing an article right now called Foot Stomps, Donkey Kicks, and Triple Extension, because that's everybody always says, well, your guy's foot stomp, your guy's donkey kick, you don't triple extend. And I'm like, 1 and 2, I don't care about foot stomps. Stomp your feet, don't stomp your feet. Makes no difference to me. Move the bar from A to B fast. Donkey kick. Oh, they kick their heels up. I don't care. Move the bar from A to B fast. Does the bar go from A to B fast, and is there a lot of weight on the bar? I don't really care what your feet are doing. And you can argue, like I was reading Greg Everett's book because I was looking for a little support for the article, and he said there are Olympic lifting coaches who teach foot stomp. There are Olympic lifting coaches who don't teach foot stomp. There are Olympic lifting coaches that tolerate, the donkey kick, whatever, the heels coming up a little bit.
Yeah.
But there are those that don't. I'm in neither camp. I just look at people and I figure out the best athletes, foot stomp and donkey kick. And they also rock. And they just do. Like, you take a good athlete, teach them an Olympic lift, I will almost guarantee you that they will do all 3 of those things unless you try to coach it out of them. That tells them something, right? They know how to be explosive. They know what they're supposed to do. And then we get, oh, that's not the way to do it. And I do that a lot with my coaches. Like, sometimes we'll have athletes do something, say, from a different sport, and someone will look at me and go, that's wrong. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if it's wrong. It's different. Let's watch it for a while. Then let's go ask them why they did it that way. We do something called the rotational row. I don't know if you...
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
And with rotational row, most people, when they rotational row out of a very, what I would call a defensive position, kind of a wide base sort of stance.
Yeah.
But when I started showing our hockey players rotational row, they did it with a very narrow stance, and they tended to lean away as if they were cornering on skates, right? And one of my coaches came right in and said, they're doing that wrong. And I was like, no, they're doing it different. I said, I'm not so sure it's wrong because I want to watch for a while, and I want to see if they all do it. And they all did it. They all took a narrower stance, and they all leaned away sort of like on the edges of their skates the way they would be, and they all executed the same movement like they would in crossing over and skating. So it's not wrong, it's just different. And it might even be 2 completely different exercises, but we can't be so quick to decide right and wrong, particularly when you've got good athletes. I think I love to watch good athletes do stuff, really talented athletes. Like we have the Swiss national bobsled team in right now, training at our facility because they kind of got stuck for a place to train for a week. I was watching basically like a sled bounding drill that one of the girls was doing. I said, can I film that? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I'll say, it'll be up on my Instagram because I filmed it the other day and I got her Instagram and she said I could put it up.
Yeah.
But it's just super interesting because if I watched it, I was like, I really like that. And I even asked their coach, Chris, I can't think of Chris' last name, great guy, British guy. But I said, what do you call that? And he's like, I don't really call it. It's anything. He said, it's not a sled bound. He said, it's deliberately not a run. We want both feet to sort of be in contact with the ground at the same time. And I was like, I really like that exercise. I need to figure out what we're going to call it. But I really like to see it. You'll see when you see the video.
What'd you end up calling it?
I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. Because it's not a sled sprint, and it's not a sled bound, and it's not a sled push.
Oh.
It's something in between sled bounding and sled pushing.
Oh.
So I'm not really... I might end up calling it explosive sled push because that's probably the closest thing that it looks like.
Yeah.
I wish it's on my phone or I'd show it to you. I'm
actually intrigued. I want to see what it looks like. So today when you put up comment, tag me in the comments because I want to see it now. I definitely want to see it. While we're on sleds and prowlers, I know you're a big advocate of using prowlers and sleds in your training. I love them personally. I remember in the book you called prowlers or sledge like a functional single leg press. Can you explain a little bit more of how you feel about in terms of athletic development, speed development, technique for using the prowler?
Yeah, well, like I said, let's see. I'm gonna just watch. See if you can you see this?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. What the? Wow. Okay, so it's not a bound because
it's not a bound because you don't have non-contact.
Wow.
And it's not sprint because you don't have rapid turnover.
No, it's slower.
And it's because it's not real. It's not slow and deliberate.
It's
interesting. So she's
it's in between, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So But I think I'm becoming a huge sled proponent because one of the things in this, you ever interview Cam Joss?
Yes, yeah. DeFranco's to us, yeah.
So I love Cam. Cam is my favorite, brilliant young person. Just
Other than me, of course.
What?
Other than me, of course, Coach. Hey.
Of course. Well, I don't think you're as young as Cam. Maybe you are, but I don't know. But I don't think he's 30.
He's not.
To be honest.
No, is he? He's not 30.
No, I don't think he's 30. I think he's in his 20s.
Right.
I could be wrong. He might be 30 now, but I don't. I want to say when I first started talking to him, he was 27.
Yeah.
So he might be 30 right now. I can actually, if I have a second while we're talking, I'll try to Google Cam Joss and figure out what his actual age is. But the point, Cam, got me thinking about some of this speed development stuff, which got me thinking about, and I don't know if it was Cam that got me on the idea of us being too, in the weight room, we are very vertical by nature, right? I mean, we just
very sagittal plane as well.
Exactly, vertical sagittal, and it's just the way that it all, again, the way that it's always been, right? And it's one of those things where you kind of look and say, sprinting is sagittal horizontal.
Correct.
Or sagittal frontal, right?
Frontal. Yeah.
So one of the things that I started thinking about as I started to think about speed development and Cam stuff and Tony Holler stuff and all these things that are kind of rattling around in my head, and then I'm thinking, we have tremendous success in vertical jump improvement, and I would say we have moderate success in speed improvement until we started to change our thought process. And part of the problem was because we were weight room people. We weren't doing horizontal things. We did very, very little horizontal. If we ran sprints, that was what we did horizontally. We did nothing horizontal from a strength perspective. But we were still like a sled, we pushed sleds. But we pushed them, I always said, I don't know if you guys have Life cereal in Australia, but there used to be a commercial for this Life cereal in the U.S., and the little boy would say, "What is that?" And the other kid would say, "Some stuff, it's supposed to be good for you." And I felt like that was the sled for a while. Like what are you doing? I'm just pushing the freaking thing. It's supposed to be good for you. I don't know. You know what I mean? People pushing, and I'm like, seems like a good idea. But then you start thinking, wait a second. If I look at this, if I was to flip this thing upside down, if I took, I'm showing you the video that I showed you, and then I turn my camera upside down, right? You'd be like, oh, that person's lying on their back, leg pressing with one leg at a time. And I'm like, yeah, sort of that's what they're doing. And, it's all we did with sled pushing is we put the load in front of you. Instead of you lying on your back on a leg press, unilateral leg press, and having the weights moving this way, we said, oh, we'll put the weights in front of you, and then we'll let you press into the ground. Oh, really good idea. Press into the ground. I like that. And that seems to have nothing to do with sprinting. And you'll get the load to move forward. And kind of I always say to people, it's I go between aha moments and duh moments. That was duh, I am really stupid. Why is this? Then people said, well, how do you do it? We used to do it for distance, right? Push the sled 10 yards. But I started thinking, why do little people have to push the sled as far as big people? Because I'd look and think, oh, it takes so-and-so, it takes my big guy 8 steps to get 10 yards. My little, my little hockey player who's 5'3", takes her 15. And then I said, well, why don't we just do this for reps like an exercise, right?
Yeah.
But, how do you push the sled? I'm like, we do 3 sets of 10 reps with each leg. So when people say, how far am I pushing? And I'm like, I don't know, take 20 steps. I'll tell you how far you pushed it. And I don't really care how far you pushed it. I only care that we got 10 reps with each leg, just like if we were, split squatting or whatever we were doing.
So we got the stimulus.
Right, and then when we want heavy, well, we're going to go up and weight. Okay, 5 reps, 5 steps with each leg. Same we would do as, in a strength exercise, right? If I want to make the strength exercise harder, increase intensity, I add load and do less reps. That's what we do with sled.
Yeah.
Then into the Cam stuff with sled sprinting, and then Cam brought us J.B. Marin's thoughts relative to power development, and Cam's thing was basically you want to be sprinting at 66% of your speed, which effectively means multiply your 10 times 1.5. The same 2/3 relationship. So now sprinting on the sled, and people say, how much weight do you put on the sled? And I'm like, as much weight as you can do as long as it's under 1.5 times your 10 time. So my son runs 10 at 1.5. That means if he's going to sled sprint, he's got to be under 2.25. You know what I mean? Like math. And that math is JB Marin and your guys, I think Australians back cross.
Yeah.
Saborin, though, I think it's Saborin is the other guy's name. But those guys have been figuring all this stuff out, like how to train for maximum power. And so that other thing, that sled bound I just told you, or that explosive sled push, is sort of somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle. I think we need to be in the middle sometimes. So, like as I said, I'm rambling, but I'm a rambler.
Talking about sprinting, so currently at the moment, I don't know, do you guys have a lot of issues? Like, personally, I look at hamstring strains. Now, I would love your view on this because I've got a certain view on this. The Nordic hamstring exercise, what are your thoughts on it? Hamstring strains in general, there's so much research on it, yet in Australia, around the world, hamstring strains have not gone down. What's the reason why? And obviously it's multifactorial, but I'd love to know your opinion on it.
So here's the thing. Now, and this is crazy, right? So I really got into, again, that I became a big JB Marin fan as a result of my, my association with Cam. Matt Cross, JB, these guys are doing a lot of the research in terms of sprinting. Ken Clark's another guy doing really good research in terms of sprinting. JB wrote an article called Sprinting as a Vaccine. And his feeling is that sprinting, it may be the most effective exercise you could do for hamstring training. I'm going to go so far and say, and then I'll come back to the Nordics for a second, sprinting may be the most effective exercise you can do, period. Because when we think about speeds, bad sprinting is about 8 meters per second. And that's an extremely average sprinter. My son and his friends sprint about 8 meters a second at 14 years old, right?
Yeah.
Weight room. What's the fastest thing we can do in the weight room?
Probably Olympic lift, loaded jump.
Yeah, meters per second, maybe 1.5, 2.
Yeah,
right?
2. Yeah.
Sprinting is 4 times and potentially 5 times more impactful on your nervous system than any strength exercise we can do. So we've become huge. I mean, we haven't seen a hamstring injury in 2 years. Last summer we did about 30,000 timed 10-yard dashes because we started figuring this out. We had about 600 kids who ran at least 4 10-yard dashes per week timed. So that gives us 2,400 per week on the low end and 3,000 per week on the high end.
Yeah.
If they ran, or actually no, on the high end, 4,800 if they ran 4. Sometimes we run between 2 and 4. So if we go in the middle, we end up at about 30,000 a summer. We did not have a hamstring strain. 0. But we sprint. Start out with time 10s, always time 2 or 4 to 8 time trials per week, depending on the kid and the health and the situation. But starting with a straight 10, and then working to a 5-yard fly-in, 10-yard fly-in, 15-yard fly-in.
Well, sorry, Coach. 10-yard is what in meters? I'm terrible at this. What?
Well, it's like 10. It's if you say they're the same, you're close. Like 11.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's really close. So it's So eventually, like the furthest distance we run is 25.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're always timing the 10-yard segment. That's a Tony Holler idea.
Yeah.
Where we're going to keep getting that 10-yard fly.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah.
And our goal, and this is Ken Clark, but Ken Clark says the goal, the 10-yard fly is like the 1 RM bench press.
Yeah.
Right. The guy who can run the fastest 10-yard fly is going to be the fastest at everything else. Like the guy who can bench press the most weight, no matter what we test, he's going to probably do the most. If I got a guy who can bench 400, and we say we're going to do reps at 225, I'm going to pretty much guarantee you he'll get more than the guy that benches 300.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's that 10-meter fly. Like it's sort of, that's the rising tide that raises all boats.
Yeah.
Get somebody to improve their maximum velocity.
Improve. acceleration. Yeah.
Based on Marin's work, it also is an incredible preventative for hamstring injury. And I had a Premier League striker that I worked with who's had a lot of musculoskeletal type issues like that. And one of the things I tried to get him doing was sprinting more. And he was very afraid to sprint. He was almost like one of those, I don't like to open it up. I don't like to, go full throttle because I feel like something's going to go bad. And I said to him one day we were having a conversation, I said, so what you're telling me is you only like to get hurt in games.
Correct.
Like, preferentially, you'd like to get injured in the contest. Kind of looked at me a little funny, and I was like, well, that's what you're telling me. I'm telling you that we need to expose you to this twice a week, every week, so that it doesn't happen in a game. And you're looking at me and thinking, I don't want to do it and save it for the game. I said, but I can guarantee you when you try to access that 100%, which is in there, you're going to get hurt. Because you're not going to have built up that tissue.
Resiliency.
Need. And the Nordic thing, I think the Nordic thing is I won't say it's all bullshit. I won't say that because.
Oh, come on, coach, say it.
No, only because we do the exercise to some degree. I think it is incredibly overrated.
Yes.
I think it's a really shitty place to start.
Yes. Good.
And I think if you want someone to have a hamstring problem and get hurt, Nordics are probably a really good idea. Like if you want to say, I want to really do some damage to somebody's hamstrings, I'm like, then go Nordics, prolong the eccentric. The other thing I hate about Nordics, you almost never see a good one.
Terrible.
When you watch, I could pull up video after video after video on the internet and tell you they're all bad.
Yep.
The key to Nordic or the key to hamstring training is simultaneous isometric glute contraction combined with eccentric lengthening.
That's why you're the man. How true is it, though? It's simple.
Exactly. And if you can't hold that glute contraction, which means if you can't control your pelvic tilt.
Posterior, yeah.
Right? And you can't keep from flexing at the waist.
Yep.
Then I don't care. You can Nordic your ass off. You can put your head on the ground, pick yourself back up. It's all wrong.
Doing nothing, yeah.
And it's not going to transfer to sprinting. But so the difference is we've started playing with what I would call Bosch ISO. So have you read Bosch's
Yes.
book?
Yep, I've read Bosch's. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm not a huge Bosch fan.
I was just going to ask you just quickly, what are your thoughts on Bosch? Because personally, a lot of people look at Bosch and they think it's expert because it's complex, so you should do it, to make yourself look like a better coach. So instead of doing the basics, they do Bosch, but they skip all the fundamentals and then do that.
My thing with Bosch, and I spoke with him in Barcelona last year, I can honestly say I sat for an hour and I didn't really understand what he was talking about.
I got no idea what he talks about either, so yeah. I don't know.
So, but I think what happens, it's sort of like the Emperor's New Clothes thing.
Yeah.
Where there's a lot of guys who stand around and go like, yeah, he's the man, this is so good.
He's the king, yeah.
And I'm like, explain like attractors and the other thing that he used. Like, explain those to me, will you? And they're like, well, and I'm like, no, explain it to me in a simple way that I can understand. But now here's where I'll go back. His muscle slack idea has value.
I like that. I like his. Yeah, no, I do like that. Yeah.
And the way I like to simplify everything. Muscle slack to me is the difference between a rope laying on the ground and people holding two ends of the rope and pulling on it. The length of that rope is not changing. But the slack of that rope has been taken up.
Correct.
And I do believe that, like he says, and this is where he's a very dogmatic guy. Like everything that he tells you is right. Like he's not a guy that wants to talk to you about anything. He just wants to tell you.
Yeah.
And like he said to me, there's no eccentric contraction.
Isometric. Yeah.
I don't know. I said, I think there's a whatever we want to call it, a yielding isometric. There's clearly like that knee angle's not staying the same in sprinting. It's changing. It's changing. The hamstring has to be lengthening.
Yeah.
When we think about sprinting, that ability to take up the slack is probably what keeps you from getting a pull.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like you come off the ground, you go to that swing phase. If you have that ability to pull the slack in and then start that eccentric contraction, you're probably going to be really healthy.
Yeah.
If you do not, you're probably going to have some problems, particularly as your velocity increases. As you get to that higher meters per second, that jolt of taking up the slack is probably enough to cause somebody's hamstring to strain. So we call them Bosch isos. Bosch isos are basically the top position of the Nordic for isometric holds. That's where we start our hamstring progression.
Yeah.
And we do get to Nordics and or glute hams. That's the other thing. I had a little disagreement with one of my friends on, he showed a glute ham the other day on Twitter. And called it a Nordic. I said, that's not a Nordic, that's a glute ham. When you're in a bench, a glute ham bench, it's a glute ham gastrog raise, it's a gaseous exercise, it's not a Nordic. My other problem, and I'll just take it one last step further, is I think whenever you get companies that are invested in selling really expensive machines, they're going to try very hard to convince you that whatever that machine does is essential.
Correct.
And it goes back, I lived through the Cybex era. The Cybex isokinetic dynamometer. We were testing knee extension, curl, hamstring, quad ratio, all this stuff. Ended up being totally useless. It had nothing to do with knee rehab, right? But Cybex had so much money invested in the production of that dynamometer that they were constantly pushing out research showing how valuable it was. And it wasn't until it got to be glaringly obvious that that wasn't true that people started, and there's still people, I still see people sometimes talking about quad hamstring ratio and isometric dynamometry, or isokinetic.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I look at the person, I'm thinking, do you have a dinosaur in your yard? Do you have a pet Tyrannosaurus? How could you possibly think that seated leg extension and leg curl had anything to do with whether or not anybody was going to get hurt? And I get, that was my bad exercise, thing, but I look at that and think, there's nothing more useless than seated exercise. Nothing.
Well,
for an athlete, I always said, leg extension. If you're a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, you need leg extension.
I read that, yeah.
Other than that, I don't understand. Muscle, and then we get into the whole functional anatomy versus dead person, live person. We could go on forever.
Because it's easier. That's what people do. It's easier to put them on a machine than to actually coach them through a free weight movement.
But also, it's science-based, it's evidence-based, it's research-based, and what you keep forgetting is, wait a second, this is the same thought process that got us high-carb diets. It's the same process that got us menthol cigarettes. It's the same thought process. There's so many of these times that people have trotted out science when they need to defend a losing game. Okay, I'm losing badly here. All right, somebody get me some science. And it's you got to really look at your science. You got to examine your science and say, do I believe this science? And that's a terrible thing to say, but it's true.
Quickly, I know you've only got a few more minutes left, so I'll quickly wrap this up, but I've got a question for you. Where do you see the industry going over the next 5 to 10 years? Because you've been doing this, and I remembered, Coach, 38 years, 22 years owning your own performance center. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where do you see the industry going? Also, I want your thoughts on the new grads coming through exercise, whatever you guys, kinesiology, exercise science, and the next breed of coaches. What do you think of them at the moment?
Well, a couple of things. I'll start with the first question.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to keep getting better. Because the fact that we've got, guys like you, in Australia, this wasn't happening 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The idea of private performance training. I remember I've talked to people who said, that's never going to happen here. It's going to happen everywhere.
Yep.
So I think that's where the industry is going to be going. It's going to happen. It's going to keep getting better because the good thing is the high end is good.
Yeah.
And keeps getting better.
Yeah.
The bad thing is the low end is bad and keeps getting worse.
And keeps getting worse, yeah.
But as I always say to everybody, people, it's funny, people are very fatalistic about, everything, the industry is bad and this. And I look and think, something? The best thing about a bad industry is how good it is for guys like you and me. I always said, in the shallow pool, the midget stands up, right? Yeah. And it's like, hey, you don't have to be good in the fitness world. You don't have to be good in the strength and conditioning world. You just have to not be bad. You have to not be an idiot. Don't get people hurt. Don't do stupid things. Don't be a moron, and you'll probably be okay.
Use common sense.
Yes, use common sense. you just look at stuff like you saw the guy the treadmill running one the other day with the guys hitting him with the medicine ball.
But
this is what we're up against. That's great, right? That's the competition. Awesome. Bring it on. Like, get me more of those guys. Like, and I say that sort of
tongue in cheek. Yeah.
We don't want that, but that's the world that we're in, and that's in some ways what allows it. The good. It allows the high end.
Makes us look better, really. I mean,
yeah. Oh, that's what I say to people all the time, and it goes back. Alan Cosgrove tells his story all the time. I'm sure he got it from a book, and I don't know whose book. So if I'm not referencing you correctly, please defend it. But basically, the guy gets out and says, two shoe salesmen go to a third world country, and they both get off the plane. And when they get off the plane, they look around and they realize no one has shoes on. The first guy immediately gets on his cell phone and says to his boss, I'm turning around, I'm on the next flight. Nobody here wears shoes. The other guy's on his phone, and he says to his boss, he said, you got to send me everything you got. There's not one person here with a pair of shoes on, right? And it's how you look at it.
Yep.
Everything is how you look at it. Everything is, it's dweck. Do we have an abundance mentality? Do we have a growth mindset? Or do we have the reverse? And we've got to be able to look at that stuff and realize, like, for me, I have an abundance mindset. I have a growth mentality. I'm going to keep getting smarter. We're going to keep getting better. The business is going to keep getting better. That's all good. The young grads, that's it. Well, my young grads are awesome. I have the kids that come in and intern with us and work for us. It is very rare that we have a problem.
Yeah.
But the internet makes me suspect of some in terms of I see a lot of this rumbling of, we should get paid for internships. It's not fair. Like, I look at people and I say, so I should tell you everything I know, and I should pay you while you take it. Does that make any sense to anybody besides? I mean, I don't get that part. Like, you want to come and work for me, and you want me to share everything that we've learned over 22 years, and pay you.
38 years, Coach. 38.
Like, I look at that and think that's absolutely absurd. Why would I do that? You should it's like in any apprenticeship-based world, you went and worked with a master to learn your trade. So I guess I think the kids now, because of the internet, they want success too fast.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, they don't like. I look at it thinking you probably had the same situation.
Yep.
You took risks. You weren't making a lot of money. There was a lot of uncertainty, and you kind of just kept plowing ahead, training people and doing what you were doing.
Yep.
And when you look at some of these kids, I have kids who think you're 2 years in. Well, I don't think this is going to work. I'm like, how the hell would you know? I was like 8 years. Yeah, I was 8 years in before I ever got paid.
Same as me. 8 years. Same. Yeah.
And I was loving it. That's the crazy part. I look and think I was part-time or, no pay or whatever for 8 years. I was a bartender until I was 30. And that was my primary source of income. And I used to think, like, I have the greatest job in the world. It's not bartending. It's what I do at Boston University. I'm there in the afternoon working with athletes, teaching people how to get better. Like, I am living the dream here. And there was no point where I was like, oh, I'm getting screwed. I'm not making any money. I thought, I'm working in a big university. I'm around some of the best athletes in the world. I have a say in what they do and how they do it. I'm just in this amazing, amazing situation. And yeah, it's financially, it's not what I would like it to be. But I think sometimes that's part of the game. Like, if someone just said, oh, and by the way, it's just scads of these jobs for $100,000 a year, and you're just going to have to pick one. Decide, what team do you want to work for? Just come right out and, latch on, and, they'll give you all this money, and everything will be great. There'd probably be a lot more people doing this, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But, when people complain, I want to ask them, did you not look into the job prospect before you went to grad school? People are like, I have student loans. And I went and got my master's and I did this. I said, did you not know that there weren't a huge number of positions and that maybe should figure out, like, okay, what's plan B here as opposed to plan A? But people don't.
But a lot, but don't.
I don't want to point fingers. It seems to be a little bit of a UK phenomenon because they have a lot of graduate level sports science.
Mm.
So I think they're turning out a lot of graduate level sports scientists who don't necessarily have a lot of coaching experience, and they don't have the same number of professional teams, say, that we have in the United States. And so maybe there are less opportunities. College strength and conditioning is not a big thing in the UK. So, but what you see is that trickles into kind of a worldwide phenomenon of people thinking, hey, I'm really getting screwed here. And I think I go to work every day in sweatpants and a pair of sneakers. It's hard to think you're getting screwed.
You're not getting screwed. Too many young kids give up too soon in this industry because they focus too much on the financial gain, not on the process. And
right.
I think so.
Tell me where the quote is. One of my favorite quotes is most people give up right before the big break.
Correct.
And I can never find the attribution for the quote. I keep hoping someone's going to send me like the book and page reference. So if you're listening and you know what book it is, please find me on the internet and send it out there. Because I think it's so true. It's amazing. I've seen so many people who they said, I'm going to go get a regular job. And then it was almost invariably the next year something came along that was exactly what they would have wanted. Their dream job walked up to me and said, hey, by the way, do you have anybody that fits these criteria? And it was kind of like, yeah, I had that guy last year and he left. It happened too many times, and I say it to people all the time. You got to be willing to be in it for the long haul.
100%. Coach, I want to thank you very much for coming on AskWoodford. I really do appreciate it. For my listeners out there, where can they find you? Where can they check your work out?
All right, so number one place, strengthcoach.com. If you listen to this and you think, hey, I love Mike Boyle and I want to spend more time talking to Mike Boyle, strengthcoach.com. It is a paid website.
It's cheap. It's cheap.
Cheap. It's $15 US a month.
Cheap.
And I literally answer questions every single day of the week. It is a rare day that I am not on there actually answering questions from people. And usually I'm posting videos, I'm posting articles. We're putting up, there's a huge amount of content that goes into strengthcoach.com.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter. I'm mboyle1959 on Twitter. And that's my favorite platform.
That's
really.
my favorite platform to watch you do your work, do your finest, Coach.
It's fun. It's a really fun place, I think, right now in the strength and conditioning world.
Yeah.
There's some good people on, and there's some good interaction.
We have some good banter back and forth with a lot of people.
Yeah. And Instagram, I'm Michael_Boyle1959 because somebody already had M Boyle, and I never figured Instagram would be as big as it was. I just jumped in thinking, hey, why not? Some guys that worked with me were having some success on Instagram, so I jumped in there. And actually, Instagram for me has been more successful. I have like 75,000 followers on Instagram. Twitter, where I'm a little under 50,000, I enjoy the Twitter platform more than I enjoy the Instagram platform.
Why is that?
But I'm there.
Why is that?
Instagram, I think, is just very video driven. So it's kind of like if you post a video, I could post a video, I think, of a cat, doing a bench press, and 10,000 people would view it. You know what I mean? It's almost like a voyeur kind of platform. Where Twitter is more quick back and forth. I think maybe because of the character limit nature, you get a little more give and take. And I'll leave you. This is the last part. The one thing that drives me crazy.
Yep.
Are the people saying you shouldn't disagree with people on social media?
Ugh.
Like, what the hell's the point? Right? You have social media. Like, why did you post something if you didn't want a reaction? Like, if you don't want a reaction, keep it private. Like, if you have a picture in your phone that you don't want anybody to see or
Don't
comment
post
on,
it.
right, don't put it on Twitter. But if you put it on Twitter, don't just expect that everybody's going to say, oh, that's a great picture. I love that picture. Some people might not like the picture. And for us, like in our field, I mean, it's the nature of the beast. Like, put it up there. I look at it, think you put it up there for me to comment on. That's why we've got these little buttons on the bottom, right? We can like it, we can retweet it, we can comment. Or we can like it, retweet it, and comment, right? And I look at it and think, I might do all those things. I might like it, I might retweet it, and my comment might not be positive. You get offended. Because you did it.
We live in a world that people just get offended over anything, though, right now.
Yeah. And we live in a world where people just try to offend. Like I have tons. I looked at a guy today, and I always look, and I said this the other day on my Instagram. The professional disagreeers have no followers. I started to look at people's profiles.
You said this. You said this to me.
Yeah. To see if they're, are they private and do they have?
They're all private. Every time they're private.
Well, not only that, but they generally have less than 100 followers.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I agree.
I do know why. I was like, assholes don't get a lot of followers.
We'll leave it on that. That's definitely true. Also, Coach, I will be over in America next year because I'm going back on DeFranco's show. So I'd love to come see you if that is all right with you and check out your facility.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. We'll go out, we'll have dinner, we'll have a couple beers.
You are
we'll have some more laughs.
You're a good man. Thank you very much, Coach. Thank you for being on.
Well, you're welcome. I'm just saying, just so you know, you only get 2. This is not baseball. This is 2 strikes and you're out. So if you call me up and say this didn't record.
Just quickly, everyone, the first time we did it, music, we couldn't hear the sound. So I really appreciate you doing this for the second time. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed it thoroughly, so it's all right.
Thank you. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, see ya.
Bye. Bye.